In Section 7 AAA, Hermantown and North Branch got a bye, so the quarterfinal round featured 6th-seeded Proctor traveling to the Igloo to face 3rd-seeded Esko. Now, the Rails lost 54-0 in this regular season matchup between the two rivals, but it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. Esko on their first offensive drive. Easton Harker hands it off to senior running back Brody Lillo. He runs against the wind, takes it in for the opening score. Esko goes up 6-0. And after a Proctor 3-and-out, Esko with the ball again. This time it's the junior tailback Logan Dahlman cutting through that defense like a bull in a china shop, avoiding any and all contact before sprinting in to make it 12-0. The Rails setting up to punt in dangerous territory, and this time it's blocked. The ball rumbles and tumbles around before junior lineman Ethan Klunenberg falls on it. That's got to be his first ever touchdown. Esko takes care of business in the opening round, cruising to a 50-0 shutout over Proctor. I still love you, Rails. Now to West Duluth, where Cloquet is playing Denfeld. Denfeld's playing Cloquet. Both teams playing against that wind. End of the first quarter, the Lumberjacks relying on the ground game in these conditions. It's former big dog of the night, Aiden Nelson, with the counter up the left side. He plunges in to give Cloquet the lead. Not a lot of offense in the choppy conditions until Denfeld makes an end-of-half drive inside the red zone. It's Lee Brooks Jr. dipping, darting, dodging, spinning. I've run out of adjectives. All in all, this run goes for 9 yards, gets the Hunters to the 1, and then who else but Lee? He calls his own number, takes it in. Brooks was here to tie the game. Denfeld would add a couple more scores in the second half, and the Eric Lofald-led Hunters get their third but most clutch win of the year over Cloquet, 18-12. Now we head to Barnum, where future Bulldog Julian Beckstrand led his top-seeded troops into battle against East Central. The Bombers, king of the play action, so good it fooled me. Sophomore running back Cooper Rock with the rock. He finds pay dirt and the two-pointer for an early 8-0 advantage. The first offensive snap for the Eagles, but it goes haywire. The handoff not clean, the ball is loose on the ground, and it's Barnum's Connor Blake with the recovery. He brings the ball right back to Barnum's hands, and they go right back to the play-action magic. This time it's Beckstrand. He's going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns like that at Molosky Stadium before you know it. Barnum takes a 12-point lead now on the 2-point conversion. Quarterback Logan Charbonneau throwing it into the wind, but it's a good idea. It's Julian's younger brother, Damian Beckstrand, with the conversion. The Bombers do what the top-seeded team should do, taking a big 51-14 win over the Eagles to advance to the semifinals. And elsewhere in the single A bracket, Brom takes down Chisholm 44-26. The MIB Rangers advancing with a 32-13 win over the Jaguars. And Deer River defeating Cherry tonight 38 the final. Rockridge and North Branch combined for 105 points, but it's the Vikings who walk away victorious. Duluth East falling on the road to St. Francis 41-8, and the Hibbing Blue Jackets with the upset of the night 13-12 over the Two Harbors Agates. All these scores and future semifinal matchups available right now on our website, northernnewsnow.com. And still to